Hello, and welcome to the State of the Game podcast. It is now June the 10th of 2025. I am your host, GT, and we have a very special topic that I want to touch on today, so let's get right into it. And keep in mind to keep it copacetic in the comments as you listen to the commentary. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. To God be the glory at all times. All right, y'all, let's get it. So, as you can hear, it's a pretty rainy day outside, but we're gonna get right into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. It was a busy weekend. As you can see, I'm a day late on the podcast, but hey, it's all to the good. Our weekend was well spent. We had our pastor's anniversary this weekend, honoring not only my bishop and my pastor, but also my father-in-law. And it was a very successful and a very fruitful ceremony that took place on Sunday afternoon. Also, we had a lot of sports going on this weekend. One thing I want to speak upon in particular is talking about the NBA Finals. Game two. We want to talk about that, and there's another very special topic that I want to touch on as well, and we're going to deep dive into that one. It doesn't necessarily have to do with sports, but it has to do with life in general, and we're going to touch on that. We're going to speak on it. Like I said before, we like to have those tough conversations, and we're going to get into that. Okay, but first off, let's talk about game two. Okay, Indiana went into OKC trying to go up 2-0, but obviously, as we know, that did not happen. SGA pretty much walked in the building and he had it on his mind, man. Him and the OKC Thunder beat the Indiana Pacers 123-107. SGA led the way with 34 points, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is 34 points. Man, did he really put his stamp on the game in 36 minutes. He went 11 for 21 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3 points. He had 5 rebounds, and he also had 8 assists. But the 34 points really stands out just simply because he just basically orchestrated the offense, and he basically took over the game as the OKC Thunder ran away with game two. And around the third quarter, you kind of had an inkling or had a feeling that Indiana was going to make their move just like they did in game one, but that did not happen. OKC basically made the adjustments from game one, and they kept their foot on Indiana's neck. The Pascal Siakam, he only had 15 points, and Tyrese Halliburton only had 17, and he went 7 of 13 shooting, and Pascal Siakam went 3 for 11 shooting. So the defense for OKC showed up on the other day, and they basically did not take their foot off the gas. Okay, I said before the final started that it was going to be like 4-2 OKC, but immediately with game one, Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers essentially stole game one from OKC in OKC. So that made me think a little bit. That made me think maybe this might be a similar to what Jordan did with his first NBA Finals with Magic Johnson and the Lakers. The Lakers won the first game in Chicago, and literally from there on, Chicago took over the series, and the Lakers didn't stand a chance. I kind of see that happening with OKC, but I still I'm standing true. I'm still holding on to a 6-game series. I think it's going to be 4-2, but it has a very good possibility that OKC may not allow them to win another game. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it progresses, and we'll take it from there. Okay. That's the word I have as far as the NBA Finals is concerned. But I really wanted to touch on a topic that has been on my mind literally all weekend long. and it doesn't have much to do with sports or with entertainment. This is more of a cultural thing, and I think it has more to do with overarching theme within our community and with us as a people. I want to talk about the truth on trial. I want to talk about how delusion, that's another buzzword, how delusion has taken over the culture, okay? So the first thing that jumps into my head is, why is the truth so offensive in 2025? Why is the truth so offensive? Why when you deal with the truth, or you try to operate in truth, why is it such a why does it leave such a bad taste in people's mouths? Why is it so shunned upon in society as a whole, but more importantly within our community? Here's the reality of it. The truth used to be respected even if it was uncomfortable. I remember years and years ago how people would want that uncomfortable truth over a comfortable lie. People will want that. These days, that is a completely different story. Now, the truth is seen as hateful, judgmental, or even outdated. How can the truth become outdated? That's weird to me. Okay, and I feel like this is a very prevalent and a very needed to have discussion. Okay, how can the truth be outdated, man? Okay, so here's my question to you guys: when did we start calling lies compassion and calling the truth intolerance? Once again, when did we start calling lies compassion and the truth intolerance? Okay, so my second point: the truth demands accountability and delusion does not. Truth requires change, ownership, and often humility. Sometimes the one that is telling the truth has to swallow a pill. Okay, sometimes that truth is hard to swallow, not only for the person or persons receiving it, but also for the one giving it. Okay, sometimes that truth, the truth hurts. That is a very, very valid statement. Okay, but it is needed. Okay, in terms of accountability, in terms of integrity, and in terms of keeping things in its natural order. All right, so delusion allows comfort without confrontation. I tell you what, I look at social media in some of these posts and some things that I see people post on the daily, and you hear a lot of these, especially when it comes to heated conversations. Keyboard warriors, that term has been around for a while, but keyboard warriors are basically those that you would assume can type whatever they want to type, say whatever they want to say on social media without it having to be addressed in a real life situation. Okay, and that is where that comfortability comes from. People embrace lies because it allows them to feel validated, even if they're self-destructive. I tell you what, man, who would feel validated behind a lie? Think about that. And I know, you'll have people that'll listen to this and offer their commentary and whatever the case may be, and they'll essentially say that, no, not me. Just like everybody would. No, not me. I'm not a part of that crowd. But yet you see it happen every single day, and it is just an oversaturation of it in society as we speak. People don't want freedom. This is a quote. People don't want freedom. They want permission. In other words, they don't want to feel as if they're obligated to do what needs to be done. Say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done. They just want to feel validated. And the dopamine hit that comes from social media, that leads in that lends into that quote where people just want to feel involved. People want to feel important. People want to go along just to get along, so to speak, with the crowd, and that is the validation that they're looking for. I'm of the persuasion that I never needed that sort of validation. Even when even when I was in the world basically trying to get my music and things like that out there, I never sought that kind of validation. I looked to ruffle feathers. I looked to step on toes. Even in my independence, I looked to ruffle those feathers and step on toes and kick doors down to basically, I don't need your validation. I don't need that type of support unless it's genuine. Okay? Unless it's a genuine support or it comes from a genuine place, I never sought that type of validation. So let's look at postmodernism and your truth, quote unquote, your truth culture. Oh gosh, this has been such a pet peeve of mine over the years. Often hear people say he's not telling the truth, he's telling his truth, or she's telling her truth, or whatever the case may be. You've heard it before. And my whole entire time listening to this, my whole argument has always been, but what is the truth? Okay? Everybody has, quote unquote, their truth. I want to know what the truth is. Okay? The bottom line of it. All right? So, basically, the rise of living your truth has replaced objective truth with personal preference. That's a good one. Truth has become relative and facts have become feelings. See, when you get feelings involved, that's emotional. That has no logic behind it. That has no reasoning behind it. And that, to me, doesn't have any solid foundation. Because, as we all know, emotions, feelings, things of that nature can change, okay? At the blink of an eye, those things can change. The truth is not supposed to change. The truth is what it is, and it stands the test of time. So to say the truth has become relative, or the truth has become, facts have become feelings, or it all depends on preference, that shows me shaky foundation, okay? That shows me a lack of a solid foundation. And that shows me that it's not the truth to begin with, okay? Because the truth doesn't need any of that, all right? All right, so let's talk about how cultural institutions, the media, entertainment, and even education, prioritize emotional comfort over factual integrity. We just want what makes us feel good. We just want what makes us feel good. We just want something that strokes our ego instead of what is not only right, but upright. Integrity, moral, and ethical standards, those are things, just in my personal opinion, I'm just one person, but those things, even in 2025, they hold a great value in my life, and they hold a high regard, okay? Especially when I approach other people, or when I have to deal with other people. When you basically have to prioritize the comfort of someone, that's basically saying whatever it is that they want to hear, okay? You're basically saying whatever it is that whoever it is wants to hear. And sometimes you need that truth, you need that uncomfortable truth to be able to prioritize decency and order. Decency and order. And that in 2025 has unfortunately gone by the wayside, okay? All right, so let's get to the elephant in the room, which is social media, okay? The echo chamber of delusion. Now, delusion, let's focus on delusion, right? In a lot of the posts, it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, it could be YouTube. In a lot of the posts you see, there is an ample, and I'm talking about a Costco economy size sample of delusion, where things are being said expressions are being made, opinions are being voiced, viewpoints are being given, and perspectives are being displayed that make absolutely no sense. But the problem comes in where you have those people that are voicing those views and making those statements and displaying their viewpoints, and they're in a position of influence that is very prevalent. We're talking thousands to millions of people that basically side with the viewpoints and the opinions and the expressions, no matter what those expressions are, no matter how outlandish they may be, just because they want to lend to that influence, or they want to, I guess, garner that attention of being, the in crowd, so to speak. And that is a major problem. Okay? So, algorithms favor what feels good and not what's true. That's another buzzword. Algorithm. They favor what feels good and not what's true. It's all about that dopamine hit. I told you guys that before. That dopamine hit. Whatever gets you likes, whatever gets you views, whatever gets you clicks, whatever gets you fame, whatever gets you notoriety, whatever gets you influence. You rather gravitate towards that before you gravitate towards what the actual truth is, what the bottom line is. And that has become a problem in our society. So, outrage, that being said, outrage, shock value, and confirmation bias dominate timelines. And it is the truth, okay? Especially when it comes from shock value. Oh gosh, we'll do anything for attention, some of us. We'll do anything for attention. All right, we'll do anything to get a like, to get a comment, to get a view, anything to basically go viral, so to speak, in that space. And we've sacrificed the truth, we've sacrificed integrity, and we've sacrificed moral and ethical standards for that dopamine hit, for that attention. Okay, for that validation, so to speak. Psychological warfare. Okay, gaslighting at a societal level. All right. Society teaches people to doubt reality, and with the incorporation of things like AI, that's only going to get worse from here. Okay, some things that are being put out there right now, even as we speak, with the whole the riot situation in Los Angeles with our Latino sisters and brothers. You're seeing a lot of propaganda being put out there online. I showed one yesterday to my family, and it's really disturbing just how quick a lie can be circulated, I guess you would say, before the truth will. Lies and propaganda and things of that nature, they are commonplace. Matter of fact, they are rampant all over social media. And the shock value of it, you'd be amazed at what is actually true and what's not true at this point in time. It teaches people to doubt reality. Men can be women. That's one quote. I've never seen a man, get pregnant, but they're putting things in place for that to happen, which is insane to me. Okay, I honor and I value our women on such a level. I have a mom, I have 3 sisters, I have a wife, I have 3 daughters, and I hold them at such a high regard and a high value for everything they do and everything that they're capable of doing, as far as their accomplishments and as far as the things they've been able to accomplish over the years. Man, listen, you have to know your position. You have to know who you are as a man and as a woman. If you know your position and you are functional in your position and you are secure in your position, you wouldn't want to, as a man, be a woman, or as a woman, be a man. It's just weird to me in this day and age. It's just weird. Another one, children know what's best for themselves. Listen, the word says train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they are old, they will not depart from it. Children's minds, a mind of a child isn't fully developed into adulthood, I'll say this. As far as a man, a boy grows into adulthood and their minds aren't fully developed until they're 25 years old, man. So how can a child know what's best for themselves? Females, girls, grow into women and their minds develop quicker. Okay? So that's well and good. Okay, that's well and good, but at the same token, either way you look at it, either way you slice it, there is no child in society, in our society, in this day and age, that know more or have an ability to take care of themselves better than their parents or than their guardians or whoever's an authority figure above them. And the authority figure's job or the parent's job is to lead them and to guide them in the way that they should go so they could be the most successful. Okay? That's not hard, people. That's common sense. And I have a saying that I say all the time. I ask people the question, what's the most uncommon thing in the world? And they look at me crazy and they're like, I don't know, what is that? And I say common sense. And we've reached the point, how we call it? We reached the point of critical mass, okay? We're at the point in 2025 where common sense is at an all-time low, okay? And this needs to be rectified like yesterday, okay? The truth is hate speech. I tell you what, if the truth is hate speech, please hate me. Hate me all you want, all right? Because I would rather an uncomfortable truth than a comfortable lie, all right? And I know that sounds cliche, but a lie will hurt you more in the long run than the truth ever will, all right? And that's just the facts. That's just the bottom line. But like we said before, facts have to make people feel good in this day and age. The facts have to make people feel good. That's crazy to me, but it is what it is. So let's finish everything up, man. So, okay, what can we do to change this culture? What can we do to change everything that's going on as far as not only the truth, but how much delusion has taken over the landscape as far as our community? What we can do is we can ourselves seek truth, but also encourage others to seek the truth as well, okay? And we could speak truth with grace and with boldness, okay? Hey, sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but there's ways to say it that eases the edge off, I guess you would say. But that would take wisdom, understanding, and also discernment as well, okay? So you got to look at it from that perspective, all right? Also, you got to live it. You got to be consistent and don't compromise at all, man. And that's exactly and essentially how I live my life, man. I do as best as I can to be the best person I can be for everybody that I can, okay? And that's basically to give people the truth and live truthfully and honestly, you know. I mean, I heard somebody say the other day, who you scared of? Why you gotta lie? And it makes so much sense. At this big old age of mine, I'm 46 years old. At this big old age of mine, I ain't got nobody to lie to, man. I have nothing to be afraid of. I'm gonna speak the truth. That's just bottom line, okay? The truth will be hated, but it will never, never be defeated. And that's something you need to incorporate into your spirit as well. Listen, you will get a lot of backlash. You will get a lot of dissension. You will get a lot of people falling away from you. But eventually, even they will come to the realization that you meant well for them, okay? That you meant well for them. And that's by not sugarcoating. That's not by, beating around the bush. You just basically giving the truth as it is and for what it is. Being the truth, living that lifestyle. And that's just all you can do, man. That's all you can do. That's the best you can do, all right? All right, so the closing thought. Before I get to that, let me get to my last word on the truth for the day. The truth has never needed a crowd to be valid. It just needs someone brave enough to stand on it. All right, I'm gonna say that again. The truth has never needed a crowd to be valid. It just needs someone brave enough to stand on it. We stand on everything else. Why not stand on the truth? It's just as simple as that. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I had a closing thought, but I don't even want to address it after, speaking on what we've spoken on today. Just live in not your truth, not his truth, not her truth. Live in the truth, okay? Stand on that. You want to stand on business? Stand on truth, all right? All right, y'all. Until next time, this is GT with the State of the Game podcast. I appreciate y'all, and I thank y'all for your continued support. Shout out to all the new subscribers and the new supporters. Continue to like it up, continue to share, and continue to subscribe to us, man. We're steady moving, we're steady growing, and we'll be back at you next week with another episode and some more topics to discuss, man. All right, y'all. Peace out.